Hi Aparna. So guys, Aparna has secured rank 35 in her second attempt. So congratulations for that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, and Aparna, one question I would like to ask you that you were having a very good career and then you switched towards this civil services. Why is that?
Um, so I am an architect by profession, and I worked as an architect for 2 years. And then I felt that I wanted to do a little more research and study the city and urban issues, basically. So I went for a master's degree in urban planning at SEPT University, Ahmedabad, which is one of the premier institutes in India for this specialization. And during that course, I had the opportunity to explore several aspects of the city and urban problems. For instance, I studied road safety and what would be its impact on people. And as I was sort of exploring this from the urban planning perspective, slowly I realized that the persons or the officials who are in charge of implementing government programs or government schemes to solve many of these issues are civil service officers. And over those 2 years, I did my internship. And then after my postgraduate degree, I also worked with the government. And there I interacted with several IAS officers. And I realized that this was a career or profession that I would like to do. So even though I was very passionate about my urban planning degree and the work that I did there, I felt that this would be an opportunity where I can have a much larger impact.
Okay. And Aparna, you were a female working candidate. How tough it becomes for female working candidates to prepare for the examination?
Sir, I think the working aspect was a challenge for me because I had to balance a 9 to 5 or sometimes even more than 5 p.m. job and the studying. So that I was able to do only because of my parents' support. I was living with them while I was working here in Delhi, and my mother would wake me up in the morning, give me a cup of coffee, and make sure that I sat down to study. So morning 4 a.m. to 7:30 would be my study time, and then 7:30 onwards, again my mother would help me with breakfast and everything, and I'd get ready for office. So everything, all of this was just only possible because of their support. And without that, I don't think I would have been able to manage the two. And being a female candidate, I realized that there are several other responsibilities that lie on your shoulders. But luckily for me, my parents were supportive. They were very clear that you should have a clear path or a clear idea of where your career is heading before you make any personal decisions. So that way they were very supportive.
So one thing is family support. Second thing, like when you were working, and it is common to both male and female, so it becomes very difficult to balance the job and this. So can you please suggest some of the things that how you were able to manage both the things?
Well, I think like even before we start with the studying part, it is I had a very clear idea of,
and it becomes very difficult for the working candidate to balance both the things, whether male or female. And there is some frustration that you want to enter into the civil services, but at the same time you have to work.
Yeah. So for me, I can sort of relate with that, the difficulty, the frustration aspect. But for me, the job was something that I chose. I really wanted to do this, and it was a very unique opportunity for me. And I was very passionate about working there as well. So for me, the real challenge was figuring out how much time I could dedicate to both and make sure I do justice to both aspects. So so the first thing before even starting my preparation, I was very clear that I had this motivation or this drive in me to do both the job as well as prepare for civil services. So that kept me going. Then coming to the day-to-day aspect, I had a very clear schedule in mind. So and this sort of brought a discipline in my life. Like I knew that every morning I had to wake up early and study, and that after that it would be purely only for my work. So bringing that kind of discipline and that consistency helped me throughout. And then after that, it was of course having a very clear timetable. So when I wake up in the morning, I didn't take a decision about what to study. I already knew that for the next 1 week, I would study a particular subject or cover a particular portion, something of that sort. So since I had a clear schedule in mind, it was just a question of waking up, doing those few tasks or few topics, and then getting ready for work. And but this was my weekday schedule. Weekends were very long. I would not go out anywhere. I would not go for movies, restaurants, nothing. It was just studying for 2 long years. So yeah, weekends were 10 hours at least, at the very least, and that helped me sort of cover the portion.
Okay, and were you able to find some time while working? Let's assume that you are working from 9 to 5. Were you able to find 10 minutes, 20 minutes for some current affair, for some other things? Were you doing that?
No, because I didn't do that because like as a person, I'm not very good at multitasking. Like I prefer to focus on one thing and just put my 100% attention there. So I don't like mixing the two. So morning would be my study time, and after that would be work time.
So Aparna, I was asking you one question that during the interview prep, you told me that, sir, I'm done with the attempts and I'm not going to appear again. And I was like that, no, you are just saying it for the sake of saying. And when we met after getting the rank, and you were very much clear that no, sir, I would not have appeared again. So there are candidates who went on going till 6 attempt or 9, but you wanted to end your journey at 2, irrespective of the outcome of the process. Why is that?
But this is only my sort of personal experience and my decision based on my own career choices. So for me, the first thing was that I already had a professional degree, professional qualification, and I was in a very good position in my own field. And I felt that in that same field, I could have pursued it further and built a specialization and done something meaningful. So I always knew that I could go back to that. That gave me a lot of confidence. And the second thing was that I started this preparation very late in my life. I was 26 when I gave my first attempt. And so I felt that I just felt that I can devote probably at the most 2 or 3 years of my life to this. And after that, if it doesn't click, then it's perhaps not meant to be. And I will just go back and pursue whatever goal I had in my own field of urban planning. So yeah, I was very serious about the 2 attempts thing. It's not a joke.
Okay, and Aparna, you were not able to clear the prelims in 2018, and then you sorry, yes, and then you passed the prelims in 2020, and you told me that failure, that first major failure in examination in your life, so that was like something big for you, right? So can you please share some of the things?
Well, that first year I missed the cutoff by about 4 marks. I think 98 was the cutoff, and I was in the range of 94, 95. And leading up to the prelims, like the few weeks before the prelims, I was working very hard, long hours of study, and I felt that I had covered the portion and I had sort of done my best preparation. But immediately after I checked my marks a few days after the exam, I realized that I would miss the cutoff. And at that stage, I had sort of said no to some job offers. I had, and I was just sort of in my mind, it was just that, okay, next step is writing the main exam. And unfortunately, that didn't happen that year. So I did struggle with that kind of realization that now I had to look for a job. And at the same time, I had to decide whether I wanted to give this a second attempt or not. So that took a while for me to decide. But and like this failure also sort of taught me that this exam is very unpredictable. Sometimes you feel that you're very well prepared, but it doesn't go as planned. So always having a career backup and having a plan B available to you is a good choice. So in the second attempt, I had my career, I had sort of financial security, and I was living at home. all these things gave me a lot of confidence, and I could do my best in the second attempt.
Do you think that in this journey, mental health is one thing which everyone neglect? And after your failure in 2019 prelims, you were telling me that, sir, that was the first biggest failure in examination for you, because you were doing good in your academics and all, and you reached to a point that you have failed in prelims, not in mains, not in final stage. So, do you think that mental health is a major issue which each and every candidate is facing, and how you coped up with that?
Uh, yes, definitely, sir. I think this exam, and it's sort of such a long cycle. It's three exams over an entire year, and if you fail at any one stage, you just go back to the starting point. So that long process and so many months of just staying alone and working hard, it takes a toll on you. There's no doubt about that. But I think for me, it was my parents, it was my family, and just staying with them helped me go through that difficult time and come out successful this year. So just talking to friends, talking to family, and having their support really helped me.
But Aparna, you are someone whose family supported very well. There are others who don't get it, and they are like, family is saying, stop this exam, either get married or get a job. So it becomes very difficult for them, right? So do you want to share your thoughts on that side?
Yeah, I am not in a position to sort of give them any advice or any kind of uh, or give them any tips on what to do, because unfortunately I've not been able to experience that kind of situation. So the only thing that I would say is reach out to people like Puneet sir, or reach out to mentors who you trust and talk to them, because there are so many of us who are going through similar problems, and just talking about them and discussing them often has a good impact. So that would be my only
Okay.
suggestion.
And Aparna, then you passed the prelims in 2020. So can you please share your strategy on the prelims?
Okay. Um, so prelims, I knew that the basic books, like the fundamentals of polity, economy, environment, and geography, history, these were the things that were going to push me above the cutoff. I knew that I could not afford to make any mistakes in these basic questions, especially those that were just directly picked up from the NCRTs or the Constitution, things like that. So I made sure that I was very thorough. The 6 months before prelims, starting from almost February, March, I focused my entire attention on prelims. I revised these books multiple times, made sure I was very, very thorough with those basic books. And apart from that, I analyzed the previous year questions, almost up to 10 years, 2010 onwards, very thoroughly, in the sense that it was not just looking at the answers to those questions, but I analyzed the question pattern. I analyzed what are the ways in which the question is trying to trap you. I tried to look at how to eliminate answers and arrive at the closest possible match to the UPSC key. So all these steps, I think it took at least 6 to 7 iterations with the previous year question papers. And then I had some confidence that I could do the next year's prelims paper as well.
So according to you, previous year questions are very important, and not only finding the solution of that, but analyzing the trend, right?
Very much, yeah. Analyzing the trend,
And
analyzing the question pattern.
yes. Yes. And I would like to ask, where are your notes, Aparna? Everyone is looking for Aparna's notes.
So I don't have any notes right now, at least the physical copies, because like I said, this was my last attempt, and I think sometime in the
Not
first
last,
week,
second, but last for you.
second but last for me. So in the month of September, a little bit after Ganesh Chaturthi, I sold all of them, all my notes in Delhi, some second-hand market. I got 900 rupees for it. So that's all.
Okay, Aparna, but in mains, you had done well. And one thing that is very different from other candidates, from other advices, that you, where are your copies? So no such means copies exist. Why you didn't write any test? Why you didn't do any answer writing practice and all? And you have, and if you want, you can share that story. 3 days ago your means, your mom said no, something you have to write, otherwise I will not allow you to go. Why you didn't
Uh,
go in that side, answer writing and all?
what happened was the first a few months after my prelims failure, I was still in the process of sort of understanding the different subjects and revising that and reading that. And I kept pushing the answer writing, thinking that, okay, I'll first finish my optional, I'll first finish my JS notes, I'll finish this, I'll finish that. And then finally, I realized that it's almost time to switch to prelims. And that just sort of procrastination, I pushed answer writing totally. And then once I had realized that I cleared prelims, I felt that, okay, at least now I have to start writing some answers. But again, I sort of got caught in my cycle of my job and my work day and everything, and I just kept pushing till the end. But that procrastination, I must admit that it had a little bit of a reason, because from my school days, I've been quite good at writing. My English communication skills are quite good. And I also have a very neat handwriting, neat way of presentation, neat handwriting. So I had that much of confidence in myself that I would be able to somehow write the paper and present it also in a neat manner. So I kept pushing it till the end. Of course, I would not recommend that to any other candidate. I would just say that if I had probably attended a few mock tests, it would have given me a little less anxiety during the main exam.
Aparna, just imagine that today you are ranked 35. Just imagine that you don't have any rank. What all things which you might have been thinking that I wish I could do with the means?
With the mains, I would just say maybe for me, like my notes were very much tailored to the answer writing. Like for instance, I had made notes that could just perfectly be written on the paper. Like they were in the exact structure that the answers needed to be in. So that in that aspect, I felt complete, that I could not have done anything more. But only in this practicing answers and practicing finishing the paper within 3 hours, I felt that aspect I could have done a little bit more.
Okay. And Aparna, can you please share your score in your optional anthropology?
Yeah, anthropology was a little bit of a surprise for me, but I got 308. So that was a very good score.
And share your strategy for that, because 308 is a very good score.
So to my mentors, when I was in Bangalore, I attended a class at Insights IAS Academy in Bangalore. And there were these, the two mentors who were teaching that class. It was just a 2-month class. And the two of them who were teaching that class were actually people who had attempted the main exam the same year and had got pretty good marks. Like I think both of them had crossed 300. So they were not experts in the subject anthropology, but they knew how to tailor your notes and tailor the points so that it could fetch marks in the exam. And their pointers and their tips really sort of guided the way in which I prepared my notes and focused on how to present my answers, rather than just sort of reading more and more material. So I think the credit for 308 in anthropology definitely goes to their guidance and their tips.
Okay, so you were talking about mentors and they help you.
Yeah.
So Aparna, let's move further in this side. There are many who are expert in their subject and they are candidates. So as you have said that they just appeared in the means, they scored very good marks, and that thing helped you. And imagine that you are studying in a traditional coaching where you are understanding the concept, where you are getting the notes. So how can you differentiate both? that which might have worked better for you?
Unfortunately, I didn't attend any coaching apart from those 2 months. So I can't really draw a comparison, but I can tell you some of the advantages that this particular style of mentorship helps me. So first, it gave me a very clear idea about what the exam demands. It was from the very beginning, from the very first day, I was clear that my focus should be limited to the syllabus. Only the keywords in the syllabus are important. And every word that I write down in my notebook should be something that I can use in my answer booklet finally. Apart from that, everything else was basically unnecessary. So since my focus was limited to that small sphere of knowledge gathering and learning and revising, I felt that I could manage my time better and focus my attention. So I think that constant revision and that limited amount of information that I had to study really helped, especially because I'm not from the anthropology academic background or anything. I've never studied that subject before. So this sort of approach, this exam-oriented approach really helped me.
Okay. And Aparna, let's enter into alternative career. There are many candidates who keep on preparing for the examination, attempt 1, attempt 2, attempt 3. They reach to the stage, let's say attempt 5. And now they cannot go back to the field which they have done with their grad, let's say engineering or anything. So what is the role of alternative career in this journey of civil services?
So this
Because
is really,
just add, let me add a point. Like you have a very good career, and suppose you would not have got selected, then also you will do good in your life. That was sure. And just imagine that after your masters, you enter into the civil services, reach to the stage of 4 attempt, then it might be difficult for you to enter in your core field, right? Yes.
So I want to be very sort of careful while answering this, because each person is going through their own journey, and each person's motivation for giving multiple attempts is very different. So when you have made that choice, I think it is definitely based on certain parameters and certain factors in your life. So my only sort of advice or tips or suggestion that would be is that there are so many other careers, for example, public policy, or having a degree in sustainability or energy, renewable energy, things like that will definitely lead to careers which will make a large scale social impact, very similar to civil services. So perhaps if any of the aspirants are interested, they could always explore such opportunities as well. And nowadays, there are so many fellowships from the government. For instance, the fellowship that I was working in was the India Smart Cities Fellowship. So there again, we had people from varied academic backgrounds, right? From data scientists to engineers to people from political science, and me as an architect. So such opportunities give you a chance to explore your own interest and draw a little bit from your UPSC preparation as well, and make an impact on the ground.
Yes, yes. And thank you for sharing this, because it might help others to enter in that field. And let's come to the interview prep, where we interacted for the first time. And Aparna was our interview batch student, and I didn't know until I met her that she was part of SOMP notes during mains also. So can you please share some of the things about SOMP notes?
Yeah, so I had about a month off from work just before the mains. Around December 15th to January 8th was my leave time. And in the first week of December, I realized that I had to sort of compile my notes and make it very concise so that I could use it for the mains exam. And at that time, I came across this SOMP channel on Telegram. And there they were advertising, I think, very concise notes and very short notes. And it was at a very reasonable price point. So I felt, okay, let me at least give it a try and let me see what it is. So immediately I messaged the coordinator, and he sent over the notes in a couple of days. And what I realized was that the notes had a kind of structure to it, very clearly, like introduction, body, conclusion. And there were certain sample quotations or statistics that could be used in any answer related to that particular syllabus topic. So I adopted the same approach for my notes as well. And I made sure that suppose I was doing food security or poverty or any such topic, which is mostly current affairs based, I would make sure to have one quotation or one statistic or something like that, which I can use for the main exam. So definitely the notes gave me a feeling that SOMP is someone who probably has an idea of how to do well in this examination. So then finally, when I got my main exam results in March, I contacted SOMP again for the interview guidance.
And what is your experience with the interview program? And we were having like late night sessions and then early morning 7 a.m. sessions. So what is your experience with that?
So for me, the SOMPs, like the community or the group of students who were there and the peer-to-peer learning that happened with them was the best part. Because throughout the prelims and mains preparation, I was mostly on my own. Like I did not have any group to discuss or to sort of find out how they are doing better or how I could help them. It was just all alone. So finally, during the interview, when I had this group and when I had a mentor who would sort of talk to me and give me some pointers on my mock interviews, it was very helpful. And I think these small things built my confidence, and it helped me in the final interview day as well.
Okay. Aparna, you have appeared in mocks. Let's say 10, in many mocks, let's say 10. And then yes, you enter to real, like in a UPSC. So can you please differentiate the environment which you felt during the mock versus the real interview in UPSC?
Okay. So most of the mock interviews that I attended were online. I think because of the second COVID wave, the interviews were pushed by a couple of months, and all the mock interviews also started happening virtually. So answering questions, no matter how difficult they are, from the comfort of your home in your own sort of comfort zone is much easier compared to the final interview at UPSC Bhavan. So because of that, I did have a little bit of fear in the last few days before my interview, because I felt that I hadn't given enough in-person interviews. But overall, I felt that once I had gotten over that fear of being present in a room with so many senior bureaucrats, I was able to answer the questions quite well. And many of the questions that were asked were from my academic background and were from my area of specialization, also my interests in college and all of that. So these were not things that were directly picked up from my DAF. I don't want to make that sort of error, or I want to bring that clarity in this conversation. It was not directly from my DAF. For instance, when I said that I'm an urban planner, they didn't ask me directly about urban planning. The questions were based on this, but indirectly connected to it. For instance, they asked me about net zero energy and sustainability. About, since my specialization is in urban transport, they asked me about EVs and electric vehicles. They asked me about road safety and how in a city road safety can be improved. So these were all indirectly linked to my DAF, but still it was something that I am very passionate about and I'm very interested in answering. So I really enjoyed the conversation.
And Aparna, you come from a family and who were senior civil servant. So that might also help you that you were not under the pressure that a lot of senior civil servants are sitting in the interview room, right?
So I think that was not because of my family. Like in a personal environment, like at home, I know that my father retired as a very senior bureaucrat, but I know him as my father, not as an officer, right?
Okay.
So I was never, I never had that sort of fear or confidence problem talking to him. it was the experience while I was working. I had the opportunity to interact with officers at the joint secretary level or municipal commissioners, so quite senior officers. And so that confidence boost over a year or so sort of helped me. And I was able to maintain my calm and remain composed throughout the interview.
Yes, yes. Aparna, now prelims was conducted on 10th, and there are many who might not be able to pass the prelims, and there are many who are going to appear in the mains. Any advice from your side which you would like to give to them, to both the community?
So from the exam point of view, I would say that focus on the syllabus and the previous year questions as much as possible, and try to zoom in only on what is required for the exam. Often we see so much material being posted on Telegram or being printed everywhere, and we have this urge to start looking up new current affairs or new websites for mock tests or answer writing. And I felt that all of this just sort of distracted me from the core area of focus, which should be the basics, the previous year questions, and the main understanding the syllabus very well. So whether it is for prelims or mains, this would be my only sort of pointer. Just keep focused on the need of the exam, nothing else.
Okay. And any last thing you would like to say to the community, those who are still preparing? Anything?
I would just like to say that all of us go through this very, very difficult journey because at some point we were sort of motivated or inspired to be a part of this civil services. And that point of inspiration is something that each of us holds very dear. So at any time during this journey, if you feel that, I'm not worthy of this, or if you feel disappointed or a little down low and you feel that you're not able to study, take yourself back to that moment and think about why you're on this journey. Sometimes that memory will give you a boost of motivation and new sense of determination. So at least for me, that really helped. So that would be my only suggestion.
Okay, Aparna, thank you. Thank you and all the best for your future. Okay. Okay.
Thank
Aparna.
you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye.
Welcome.